Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's time for coffee and cursey words. I have my I love cursey words shirt on. I have my coffee. True story, I haven't taken a sip of it yet. I've been trying to get my kids settled. It's a snow day here. And that's kind of rare for me. I've got a snow story to tell you in a few minutes, but I today am talking about the Keemstar settlement regarding payment of his lawsuit, the new documents in the Toddy Westbrook case, and a very interesting development with the Actors Union SAG AFTRA. So that is what we're talking about today. We have a lot to get into, so I'm going to just do it. I'm just going to say it. We're just gonna get into it right now. Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the cursey words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery. So, for everyone on the replay, there will be timestamps down below. For everybody live, hi, how are you? Who's got power? Well, I'm guessing if you're here, you probably have power. Who has power? Who is safe at home? Are you all staying home? I feel like this whole pandemic, it's been like, are you safe at home? Are you safer at home? And now it's like the roads are treacherous. Texas is a mess. Stay safe at home. I was texting yesterday with a friend of mine and friend of the channel, Octo Nation, and he's like, we are out of power. We're still out of power. We're trying to find a hotel. The hotels are full. They ended up driving to another metro area to try to find a place. It's just wild. It was 10 degrees here when I woke up. It is lightly snowing outside. I actually just bought curtains for this window because it reflects so much in my glasses. It's just crazy. We actually did a little bit, and I'm going to tell you a brief story. We did a little bit of a staycation this weekend. The first sip's always so good. We did a little bit of a staycation this weekend at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel, local to us here in Tennessee. They have a water park. They have COVID precautions. We stayed within the state. And so we went away because Monday was President's Day. The weekend was my youngest's birthday. And it was something that we could do and celebrate and kind of be away, but not be like all the way away. So I'm still anxious about traveling, but also kids, also staying within our own state. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be okay. I paid for valet for the car. I generally do that unless it's like more than a $10 gap between South Park. And then I'm like, screw it, it's not worth it. But I thought that the South Park cars were covered. They were not. They were not. I will post a picture. If you guys let me know in the chat, I will post a picture of what my car looked like when we were trying to get home. I will let you know if you want to see it. But when I say it was a sheet of ice, now I'm a California girl. I grew up in California. I love Middle Tennessee, but I have a garage. And because I don't live in 900 square feet like I did in California, my garage is not my office. I have an office. There's an office. It's an office. It has a bathroom. I mean, I think it was meant to be like a guest room and like a guest sitting area and a bathroom. So we've got a guest room and a bathroom and an office. I love it. But I'm normally home. I work from home when the roads are icky. Everything just gets canceled in Middle Tennessee, so I don't really have to deal with this. So they bring the car around and I'm like, what? And it takes us a minute to get the Falcon doors open because of the ice. So the doors have to like break the ice as they're like, because everything's ice. The entire car is iced. It looks like a prank from The Office where they dipped my car in water and then flash froze it. And I have never seen anything like it before. I am not used to ice. And even when I went to college in Massachusetts, I didn't have a car. I drove once because part of water polo hazing was that freshmen weren't allowed to drink at certain events and then had to drive people around, which it's kind of a like opposite of binge drinking in college kind of a thing. And I had to drive a bunch of people back to the dorms in snow, and that did not go well. But it was like 3 a.m., so there was no one on the roads. But driving in ice and snow is a new experience. And the ice on the car, I was like, what? And my car has like push buttons. So we had to like break the ice to push the buttons to get the car. So all the sensors, needless to say, are not working because they're all iced in. We don't own like scrapers at all. So valet had scraped the car kind of, but the Tesla has a giant panoramic windshield. So there was still ice on the top of the windshield that we were worried about sliding. We did our best. I thought that the mirrors were out. One of them got stuck and like tucked itself back in as we started driving. So as we started driving, the roads were covered in snow and ice. I had no side mirror. I had none of my command systems in my spaceship were working because everything was iced over. So I realized this. So I have to put the window down to see if there's any cars next to me. The sheet of ice on the window does not want to come down. So I'm like pushing the sheet of ice out. And then a sheet of ice goes down and gets stuck. So then the window doesn't want to move. That resolved quickly. We realized swiftly that the severe cold weather really just drains the fuck out of your battery. So then we're like, oh no, we're not going to make it all the way home. Like, we're not going to make it all the way home on this charge because I didn't realize, because my car's never outside when it's this cold, and I have never driven in weather this cold in an electric vehicle. So I did not realize that the car battery would struggle so much in the cold. So we have to get on multiple interchanges. Thankfully, everyone out driving had their hazard lights on, which I've only seen once before in my life during a monsoon in Arizona where people actually had their hazards on. And everyone had their hazards on. Everyone was driving really slowly and cautiously. Everyone was not like just plowing through the highway. So we were able to get to the charging station. By the time we got to the charging station, I was a little frazzled. My kids are like, it's so weird not being able to stay out of the car. I'm like, imagine driving it. So weird. So we get to the charging station. There is a grocery store. There is a gas station. The gas station has no ice scrapers. So I walk to the grocery store in the snow, in like 22-degree weather, in my sneakers, my zip up, and my yoga pants. Not appropriately dressed, but I'm fluffy, so I feel like I was insulated. But I get a spatula, which was fantastic. I get a spatula. It worked very well for scraping off the ice. Once I got my side view mirror unhinged, things were easy peasy. Then we charged. The nice thing about the Tesla is if you tell it you're going to a charger, it will precondition the battery to charge. It didn't take that long to charge. We finally got home and we were just like, oh, I'm tired. So I promptly made myself a glorious cup of coffee. We were going to stop at Starbucks on the way home. And then the roads were so bad and the Starbucks were all closed. And we're like, everything's closed. Wow, everything's closed. We should have realized that would have happened the night before at the hotel. We went to go get food, and the place we were going to get food within the Opryland was closed. And like 2.5 hours earlier than its closing time. So the Opryland's huge. We have walked 1,000,000 miles to get to where we're getting at the Opryland and are super bummed because we wanted stacks, burgers, and fries and milkshakes, and they were closed. And so I called the front desk because I'm like, I've walked 7.5 miles with hungry kids to get to the restaurant that is closed. And 2.5 hours earlier, and it doesn't say anywhere that it's closed. I need answers. So I called the front desk and they're like, oh yeah, weather conditions are such that we had to send people home. So we had to close a few of the different restaurants. And we're like, so we hiked back across the hotel and got something else for food, but it was an adventure. So we should have realized the day before that um, there would be some of that stuff would be closed. And we didn't. So by the time I got home, I was like, coffee. So made coffee, put Bailey's in it, sat my butt down, took a deep breath, and then played video games with the kids. And then we went out for a snowy walk. We probably walked about 2 miles yesterday in the snow. We put a trash bag around a box and had a jump rope, and we're like hauling the kids up and down the road. Everything's covered in ice, so it slid very well. But I was not prepared. So if we had still had our room keys, we would have used those to scrape for sure. But we're like, we should recycle them and turn them into the hotel. So we didn't have our room keys. We only had credit cards that we actively use, and I was nervous about using those. So I was like, I can buy a spatula. The spatula worked brilliantly. And then we heated the car up enough that everything kind of melted. Oh, but in that, I tried to like use my windshield wiper on reflex by accident. So I totally snapped off one of my windshield wipers. So that happened. Adventures, adventures, adventures in Emily being from California and not knowing what the fuck to do in snow. So I wanted to share that with y'all because, it's an adventure. It was 10 degrees this morning. There's no school today. There's no school tomorrow. It's fine. We're not going anywhere. We've got food. Like, thankfully, we have food. We are moderately prepared. If we had been home, we probably would have gone to the store earlier and like packed up on food. But we have food. The kids are home. So if you hear stuff, it's everybody's home. And my kids think it's the greatest. They're like, it's like we can't see the grass very well through the snow. Like, this is the most snow accumulation we've had. Yesterday, we were trying to make a snowman out of sleet. I posted it on Instagram and you all were like, girl, no, that's the wrong kind of snow. I'm like, we discovered that quickly. But today there's like fluffy flakes that are a little wetter, not quite as dry. So now we're learning the different types of snow. It's fascinating. So we are enjoying the winter weather because now we are home safe. When I was a kid, we used to go snowing. We used to go snowing every winter. No, we would go skiing every winter. And so there is and I haven't talked to my brother about this in years. There is an incident that still sticks out in my mind. And after yesterday's driving, and because my parents don't watch Tuesday's Coffee and Cursey Words, and my mom's not subscribed to my channel because she doesn't want my hair to be purple, I feel like I'm safe retelling this story because I didn't want her to be scared that I was on the road because I'm like, Mom, no, we're fine. We're fine. So I texted her when I got home. We're like, it's all good. She's like, it must have been crazy. I'm like, no, it was fine. It's totally fine. We're fine. But we were in Park City skiing. My mom was a flight attendant when we were growing up. Skiing was like the one vacation we took a year. And then we would go back and see family in New Jersey. That was kind of all the traveling I did growing up. Occasionally we went to Mexico because my dad's a surfer. So we would go on surf trips to Mexico. My brother is also a surfer, but at the time we were children. We didn't get to choose where we went or who we went with, but we went to Park City to go skiing, and we were driving back down out of Park City to get to the airport. And it was just bucketing down snow. And a snowplow passed us on the highway and just dumped snow onto the car. And the windshield wipers were going like this under the snow. And we are literally coming down the side of a mountain. And my dad's like got the window down with his arm trying to get snow off. And so I was like driving this going, oh, my parents have done this. My parents have done this. I can do this too. We didn't fall off the side of a mountain. We easily could have. But anyway, beautiful winter wonderland. I hope you all are safe. It's just this weather. It's fascinating. It's different. All right. Enough. It's been 15 minutes. I got to share my Emily's Adventures in Snow story. Do you guys want to hear about Keemstar first, or do you want to hear about new documents in the Toddy Westbrook case? You let me know what you want to hear first, and I will tell you. I'm also going to remind you, I saw super chats come in and I have not gotten to see them. Thank you for the super sticker, Lakeisha Love, and thank you, Lori Smith. It's good to see you. I missed you guys on Friday. I 100% missed you guys on Friday. I hope you enjoyed Ringo. Will you let me know if you enjoyed Ringo? Let me know if you enjoyed Ringo. I see all of Keem's name. You guys are coming in close with Keem and Tati. Tati, Keem, Westbrook, Keem. I see you guys are like Keem, Tati, Keem, Keem. Let's hear about Tati. Who is Keemstar? Oh, the Keem stuff. Okay, we're gonna get to the key. I see lots of Keem. You guys are like neck and neck with this. Tati Keem, Tati Keem, Tati Keem, Tati Tati Tati. Thank you for that. Ringo was really fun to record. I hope you guys liked it. Keem. I thought Ringo was fun too. Fun fact about Ringo, I actually got a few emails of people saying, I didn't realize your channel would talk about sex toys. I have to unsubscribe. I'm like, I mean, that's totally fine if people unsubscribe. I get it. It was fun, but do you need to email me and let me know that? I mean, okay, thank you for letting me know. Tati Keem, Tati Keem, Tati Keem. Young Fox, this is very well taken. I loved Ringo too. I saw a question. Can you go over all the topics? I am going to go over all the topics. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to go over all 3 topics and then do questions. That's exactly what I'm doing. It works well for me. I'm glad it works well for you too. That's what we're doing. I just wanted to see which one y'all wanted to do first. All right. And Keem seems to be winning. So let's talk about Keem. It's something different. So what I've been doing so I don't get distracted and I can talk about the topics quickly and it's easier to timestamp is that I will go through the 3 topics and then we'll just do all the questions in a big lump. So we're going to do Keemstar real quick, then new documents in the Toddy case. There's not a ton. And then the SAG-AFTRA stuff and then questions. So thank you guys for letting me know who you wanted to see first. I am not doing a full breakdown of the Keemstar case today. Why? Because there's not a full breakdown needed to be had. I'm going to pull up the documents real quick so you can see how quickly this case progressed so we can compare and contrast, which also is a good reason to maybe do the Keem case first because we can compare and contrast because the Keem case has resolved. What happened yesterday was that Keem released a video, I'll link it down below, that there was a final kind of settlement, like the final boss has been fought in this case and it's done. So it's nice to look back at something and be like, oh, it's all the way done. And all the way done is helpful. So we can talk about all the way done and go through it. This is the docket report in the Keem case. So this is Romeo Lacoste and California Dream Tattoo versus Daniel Keemstar doing business as Drama Alert with all of the attorneys involved. No, Salty is not involved, but Keem does have 2 lawyers named Eric, which is always entertaining. So we've got 72 docket items in this case. This case is complete. This case is done. It's done. This case was filed in, look at that, March 2020, and it's done. Under a year, and it's done. Like payment, settlement, done. The last docket entry was November 30th, 2020. This is the, where is it? There's a ruling in here that I wanted to share with you. And I should have, Emily, make a note of the docket number of the ruling. This was on July 13th, docket number 46. So from March 2020 to July, and this case is over. This is the judgment of the court. Let's see if they have a full judgment document. Let's pull up the document real quick. This is the judgment in favor of Keemstar. So this is the end of the case. I should tell you that this is not a defamation case. I should give you a factual background. This is not a defamation case because the shit that was said was true. And that's why it's not a defamation case. Keemstar did videos on his channel. And again, I will link below his video talking about this yesterday. Keemstar did videos on his channel about Romeo Lacoste. He's a tattoo artist. He's apparently like the YouTuber tattoo artist or whatever. He was having phone and other conversations with minors of a adulty type nature. Keem got a audio recording of one of these calls, played it on Drama Alert, did videos on it on Drama Alert, had Lacoste on, I want to call him Mario, I don't know why, had Romeo Lacoste on his channel, talked about it with him. I saw that video. He basically said, well, yeah, I was having these conversations. So there's no denial of these conversations. Keemstar used the adult attracted minor P word in his videos and got a cease and desist and was like, no, fuck that. What I'm saying is not defamation because it's true. I'm reporting on it. I received these things. I'm talking about these things. So no. Keem said in his video yesterday that other channels received cease and desist and were like, I don't want any of that mess. I'm not going to leave these up and I'm going to take my videos down. Keem was like, I'm not taking these videos down. I have the right to say things that are true, and that's what I'm going to do. And so Romeo Lacoste sued Keem for not defamation. Not defamation. You know why not defamation? Because in the lawsuit, he says, yes, these conversations happened, but it interfered with my business relationships. The thing is, for tortious, illegal interference with business relationships, there has to be an underlying thing that you shouldn't be doing to interfere with business relationships. Defamation being one of those things. It's like, hey, you said that I did all these things and all these things are not true. And these things that you said damaged my business. So now this is an interference with business relationships. But in the complaint, it didn't allege the underlying things. And that becomes the crux of this lawsuit. So there could have been jurisdiction arguments on this lawsuit. I think there were good jurisdiction arguments on this lawsuit. Keem's legal team, in my opinion, went, yeah, fuck that shit. We're not gonna dick around with this. We're just gonna be done. So instead of fighting the jurisdiction, which they could have fought, they just fought the suit and won quickly. So Keem saved himself a lot of money in not dicking around with it and just winning the lawsuit because it was deficient on its face. And there was no way they could fix it because they admitted in the pleadings that the shit was true. So there's nothing to fix. So here's the judge's ruling. Having considered defendant's motion to strike complaint pursuant to CCP, Code of Civil Procedure 425.16, and the papers filed in support thereof, and the court having granted defendant's motion in its entirety for the reasons set forth in this order, it is hereby ordered and adjudged. That means ruled. That means the ruling of the court will be plaintiff Nico Romeo Lacoste takes nothing in his action, and that the above captioned case be dismissed with prejudice. We'll get to that in a second. And that judgment hereby be entered in defendant's favor as to each of plaintiff's causes of action. That means you didn't do it. Defendant is the prevailing party. You win. Requests for attorney's fees may be made by a regularly noticed motion to the court. That means, hey, you sued me. You shouldn't have. I won. And now you're going to pay for my lawyer fees. Requests for costs may be made by application to the clerk of the court. So that is it. Dismissed with prejudice means do not try this again. With prejudice means you cannot do it again. You are done. You are forestalled. You are barred. So what Keem shared in his video yesterday is that he won $150,000 in legal fees. But he chose to take less than $150,000 in legal fees because there was something else that he wanted, and he took it. So what he shared yesterday in his video, and again, I'll link it, go watch his video on it. It's very quick, much shorter than anything I've ever put out in my entire life. This is what he won. He took less in his settlement so that he could get Romeo Lacoste's play button. That was part of his settlement. Yep. His 1 million subscriber play button. That is what he wanted. I will take less cash from you, but you're giving me your play button. That was his legal settlement. I want your play button. Yep. Does it strike me as a bit petty? Sure. But if you're going to try to punish someone to not fuck around and find out, this is one way to do it. Is Keem going to start collecting play buttons? I know he's got PewDiePie's. I mean, that's because PewDiePie threw it away, not because there was a lawsuit. But is this going to be a new thing in YouTuber lawsuits? Is this a thing in YouTuber lawsuits? Give me your play button. Like, I want to win, but I want your play button too. And then people can start hanging them like trophies when they go hunting. Maybe this is the new way on YouTube of YouTuber lawsuits, because at the end of the day, this lawsuit is a YouTuber suing a YouTuber over YouTube shit. And Keem standing up and saying, no, I win. And with that background, I can see why initially in the Toddy Westbrook case, Keem came out and said, no, I support a channel standing up for the right to report, the right to speak, the right to say things that are true. And then it seems like somebody was like, oh, but Keem, you should maybe look into what's being said in the Toddy Westbrook lawsuit. And then he was like, oh, no, I knew, I can't do that. Because the heart of the whole thing is the truth. And the truth has to be the truth. It can't be exaggerated truth. It needs to be the truth. So, truth. Keem won because the things he said were true. He had the evidence to back it up, and that's it. And so there was nothing. You can't sue for defamation if it's true. You can't sue for the interference with business relationships if the underlying thing isn't a problem. So my point in sharing this was, one, you can choose in a lawsuit to not fight on everything. And this case, we'll pull this back up in Pacer. This case has 72 entries. We, in the Toddy Westbrook case, are at 61. And we haven't even started yet. We're at 72 entries, and Keem spent over $150,000 in legal fees because that's what he was awarded. So this starts to give us an idea of what the legal fees are looking like in the Toddy Westbrook case. And because a lot of this is not heavy law in motion, I would imagine that the Toddy Westbrook fees already outstrip the fees in this case, for sure. These are essentially one motion, but it's because Keem's legal team said, you know what? We can fight jurisdiction. We can fight over this and drag this into New York. But what the fuck is the point? Let's just crush it. And that's what they decided to do. Let's just smash it. They were confident enough in their position that this case could not go forward, that they did not want to play games with it. They said, screw it, smash, Hulk smash it. Just smash this. And they defeated the lawsuit. So it's interesting to me to juxtapose the two. And if you guys want a whole deep dive into the legal arguments that were made, please let me know in the comments on the live or in the comments on the video. And I will do a case brief, start to finish, of this case with a breakdown of what the motions were, what they said, what was alleged. We can do that. But juxtaposing this to kind of the fuckery that's going on in the Toddy Westbrook case, I think is really helpful. Because again, you have almost a similar fact pattern, right? You have a YouTube channel that does commentary and drama commentary, talking about another YouTuber, talking about very serious things. And the cases are taking two vastly different tracks to the end. And it's interesting to me when you see somebody really confident in their case saying, yeah, could we win? Could they have won a jurisdiction motion in this case and pulled the case into New York? Sure. Why waste the money? And I think that was the decision made here. Why waste the money? Let's just be done with it. And that was still $150,000. Keem took less in legal fees because he took that play button. And you know what? It's one of those things where you can settle cases for what you want to settle cases for. I think it's hilarious. I really do. I'm not mad at it at all. You can settle for what you want to settle for. So if you want to settle for a apology on a billboard in Times Square, if you're like, look, I won, and I won all of the legal fees in the world. I don't want you to pay my legal fees. I want 3 billboards in Times Square for 2 weeks that say you apologized to me because you were wrong. Yeah, you can do that. I mean, the other side has to agree to it. And they could say, no, I'm not doing that. I'll just give you the money. But you can settle cases in a lot of different ways. This was a settlement after the loss. So they were entitled to legal fees, and they resolved it for slightly less legal fees and the play button. Interesting. What I also discovered in looking at this is, did you know you can buy like knockoff play buttons on like Etsy and eBay and shit? I had no idea. I was fascinated by that. So the juxtaposing of the two lawsuits is very interesting to me, because this went from March to July, and we are in, or March to November, and we are in February 2021, not even a year from when this lawsuit was filed, and Keem's been paid on this lawsuit, and it's done. Like, it's done. Because sometimes chasing down payment is a whole separate side of litigation, but this is all the way done. All the way done. So let's look at the Toddy Westbrook Let's look at the Tati Westbrook docket so we can juxtapose the two. And then I will get into what the new documents say and some observations I've made on the case since it's come up. You guys, the transcripts I have found, and if somebody, I can link them below. Why is this not pulling up for me? I can link them below, but the transcripts from the phone conference are available. Somebody put them on a subreddit, which is super helpful to everybody. So those are on a subreddit. That I saw. Oh no, I need to do this the other way. I hate it when I do oldest date first. Most recent date first. Most recent date first. So let's pull this up. And we're at 61 documents. We haven't even gotten started yet in the Tati Westbrook case. So let's just do a quick how we got here. Tati Westbrook lawsuit. Tati Westbrook sues YouTuber without a crystal ball. I have a case brief video on it that I will link in the places. At its heart, it's a defamation suit. The defense did not file a response. The defense filed a motion to dismiss based on jurisdiction, meaning we don't think it can be here. We want this case to be in Minnesota. Fine. That has then spectacularly gone off the rails. There have been quite a lot of documents filed, hundreds and hundreds of pages of declarations. There have been declarations of people who used to be supporters of Tati Westbrook or of Without a Crystal Ball who are now spilling the tea. There have been declarations of people who used to support Tati Westbrook and didn't because of things Without a Crystal Ball said. All of it centering around, should this case be in Washington or should it move venue to Minnesota? Different than the Keemstar case, the Without a Crystal Ball case has some directed actions, where the Keemstar case, because they're not arguing defamation, they're not arguing directed actions. That aside, there was a motion for sanctions filed on February 10th. I have a video on that I will link. And this is a motion to shorten time on a Rule 11 motion, which is a different type of sanctions motion. Here's the thing about the original sanctions motion, and I broke it down and didn't get into the law of it a ton. The original sanctions motion is saying, you attorney, and this is Brown versus Saltzy at this point, you attorney Saltzy wrote these things, put them in declaration, did all these things. What we don't know is, did Saltzy write those declarations or were they written by co-counsel? Did he investigate them or were those phone calls made with him and co-counsel? Like, there are some things that are unknown. And so some of those sanctions, if you're not putting pen to paper, aren't necessarily appropriate. Also, there are at least two other co-counsel that have appeared in this case. The counsel from Washington and Alana Levine, the counsel in Los Angeles. So it's Saltzy, his co-counsel in LA, Alana Levine, and then Jeffrey Blanco, who is the attorney local counsel in Washington. So there are these three people. All of them are going to be involved in doing these things. But the motion for sanctions doesn't say, hey, these three attorneys were involved in drafting these things. It just says Saltz. Well, if he didn't draft them, then that becomes problematic. The Rule 11 motion gets into, okay, well, if you're the one who signed it and negligently signed these declarations, then you can be the one who is sanctioned. So there's not a ton here other than a different type of sanction motion. We're not going to beat a dead horse with this. This is, again, Brown trying to get that Lori Ann declaration kicked out. Why? Because the Lori Ann declaration is very helpful to jurisdiction. The argument here is that if time is not shortened, meaning the court hears this sooner, it could be detrimental to the argument on jurisdiction for the defendants. So basically saying Rule 11 provides a motion for sanctions brought thereunder generally, quote, must not be filed or presented to the court if the challenge paper, claim, defense, contention, or denial is withdrawn or appropriately corrected within 21 days of service or within another time the court has set. Meaning once you file this motion, generally there is 21 days for the other side to withdraw it or respond or what have you. Now, do I think that it's likely that Saltz et al. Will withdraw the Lori Ann declaration? My opinion, don't think it's likely. Do I think it's likely that there will be a response? Yes, because most of this motion and the other sanction motion are based on, well, Lori Ann said this to us, but she said something different to you. Okay, well, the one is signed and the one is not. So, all right, Why are we assuming that the unsigned stuff is the true stuff and the signed stuff is not the true stuff, is what the argument is going to be to the court, in my opinion. The rule contemplates situations in which it may be difficult or impossible to comply with the 21-day rules. That means there could be a case like this one, Brown is saying, where the 21 days is not fair or practicable. Brown says here, defense submit this request would be inequitable in that it would insulate plaintiffs and their counsel from responsibility for what defendants believe are clear and demonstrable violations of Rule 11 if the court grant defendants' motion to dismiss this lawsuit with prejudice on personal jurisdiction grounds before the expiration of the 21-day safe harbor. This court will lose jurisdiction to consider the Rule 11 motion. So, Your Honor, if you're going to rule on jurisdiction, then you can't sanction him if we win the jurisdiction motion. So we want to win the jurisdiction motion. We also want you to rule that we think Salty sucks and that you agree with us. So can you shorten time so that you can rule on this before you rule on jurisdiction? Because if you rule on jurisdiction and you don't have jurisdiction, you have no control over this motion and the things that happened in this court, which again goes both ways, because it's clear that defense is asking the court to do things that requires the court to exert authority or jurisdiction over the matter, and that hasn't happened yet. So defendants have sent their draft motion for Rule 11 sanctions to plaintiffs' counsel via email on the date of this filing and will also be served by mail. The parties conferred on this motion to shorten time, and regarding the Rule 11 motion on January 27th, I'm sure we will see a response to the other motion for sanctions, because once a motion for sanctions is out there, I can't imagine any attorney not responding. My thoughts on this as I went back through, because we did an initial reading of the motion for sanctions, as I went back through, there are some things that are questionable, like all three attorneys aren't listed when you don't exactly know as opposing counsel which attorney did which. Maybe they do know, but if they did know, they should have stated it in their motion. The transcripts came out of the call on Reddit, and you could see there's a point in that transcript where Brown is quoting the Nat Kennett declaration, but that declaration doesn't say what he says it says, which is hard for me because that's happened at a couple of motions with Brown where I'm like, that does not say what I think you think it says. Like, the words here do not say the words that you say that they say, and that's very frustrating. Has that happened in Salt's stuff? There was one in the Lorianne particularly where Salt said, with regard to Lorianne signing the declaration, he said, hey, Lorianne was told to sign the declaration. Brown said in the email, of course I'll run revisions by you. That part was left out by Salt's, where it's like, I don't like signing a sheet either, but he said, of course, I'll let revisions run by you. So on that one, I was like, no, I don't like that either. No, I don't like any of it. Just be upfront with the court, everybody. Just tell the court what the thing is. Because what the court said on that phone conference is, I'm sick of this. And I don't want to plow through your emails with y'all going back and forth and go, he said this and he said that. And then. I know you are, but what am I? The court is not going to be thrilled with any of it. But this Rule 11 motion to shorten time was what was alluded to in the other sanctions motion. Hey, we're going to bring a motion to shorten time. Please let us shorten time to hear that motion. We'll see what the court does with it. The court may not, but we are now at 61 filed documents. The other thing that struck me as I was reading through the motion for sanctions again is that there was information included about Lori Ann that wasn't included previously. And I can't help but wonder if that's some of the information that was filed under seal. Because we hadn't heard from it before, because there was stuff filed under seal, like, why would you file things under seal and then put them in a motion and put them on blast anyway? That also didn't sit right with me. And I have questions. We're not going to know what's under seal, but it was information that was particular, that was with regard to mental health and medication. And I was like, but if that's what's under seal, why would you just put it on blast in a motion? So I wonder now very much what's under seal, because we know the under seal stuff is regarding Lorianne because of what was filed to get stuff filed under seal. But again, if you're going to file it under seal, don't blast it in a motion that's not under seal. It's just kind of a dick move. Even if you want the Lorianne declaration removed, there's no reason, or just don't file it under seal in the first place. right? I mean, I don't know. So I have questions. We will see a response on the sanctions motion. I don't know if it will address any of that stuff or not, but as I was going back through it again, because on a first read, it's like, oh, first impressions. But then when the lawyer brain thinks on it, it's like, was that the stuff that's supposed to be under seal? Because it feels like if you were going to seal stuff, that's the kind of stuff you might seal. Why is it in here? I don't like that at all. And then the transcript being available, it's like, oh, that's not what that says. So those are my thoughts and impressions. Let's get on to talking about SAG-AFTRA real quick because I thought it was interesting. And this was brought to my attention by Chief Emily Officer NJ. You guys will see her in the chat. She's part of the Baker Media executive team. But let's pull this up. There are a number of publications talking about it. If you don't know what SAG is the union for actors to make sure that people are paid the proper day rate, that they have collective bargaining power when negotiating with studios and advertisers and things like that. They have approved a new agreement for influencers. We have not seen this agreement yet. I will break it down when I get the agreement and talk about whether I think this is a good thing for influencers or not a good thing. But they've made it clear in the media releases on this that they will not be negotiating with platforms, which is what I was kind of hoping to see. Like, is SAG going to negotiate with TikTok and with YouTube and with OnlyFans and be like, hey, YouTube, don't just like remove people's channels without telling them actually why and just saying, oh, there was a community violation. No, that's not clear enough. Things like that. But SAG is the union. It allows for health insurance, for set rates, for collective bargaining, negotiation. And one of the things I was talking to Peter Mon about this. We were talking about rates for sponsorships and for advertisers, and there's no like rate sheet within the influencer space, right? If you were working in traditional media back in the day, you would generally have a PR agency in between the talent or the influencer or the person. Like, influencer is such a new term, but you would have the person, the agency, and then that agency would negotiate on behalf of the person. So whoever the talent is, Jennifer Aniston is not negotiating her own Fiji water or Smart Water or whichever water she promotes. I think it's Smart Water, but Jennifer Aniston's not negotiating with Smart Water what her rate is. Her PR people are doing that. Her team is doing that. But PR people tend to work with multiple different figures of talent. They know other PR people. So there is a knowledge of kind of the going rate in the industry at different tiers. Like a Jennifer Aniston tier is a different tier of celebrity than, a Lindsay Lohan tier of celebrity, somebody who's kind of well-known in the public eye versus somebody who's not so much in the public eye at the moment. But the PR agencies kind of know that. There's like a collective knowledge there. That doesn't happen with influencers because influencers tend to not talk about how much are you getting for this sponsorship? What are your terms for that sponsorship? They don't know. There's no kind of collective knowledge, and smaller creators and influencers don't have PR. And what I'm finding is larger ones don't either. I'm like, oh, some of these larger creators don't have attorneys looking over these deals either, which is shocking to me, but I get it because if you don't know what you don't know. So I think SAG might bring some, common knowledge to the influencer space. I don't know if bigger influencers will need this. I am very excited to see what the agreement is, but allowing people to have healthcare and union benefits, yes, that comes with union dues. Of course it does, but maybe some benefits there to influencers. So that includes TikTok, Instagram, Twitch. It includes YouTube. You can apply now. The influencer agreement was created in response to the unique nature of influencer-generated branded content and offers a new way for influencers to work under a SAG-AFTRA agreement. We want to be able to both support current and future SAG-AFTRA members in this space and for them to be able to access the benefits of union coverage. That includes working conditions, collective bargaining, and things like healthcare. Previously, the union had covered advertising done by YouTubers. This new influencer agreement takes it one step further and cover advertising work across all social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, TikTok. So this regards to how much, like if you're doing paid sponsorships, isn't that the same as going on set and doing a paid advertisement? And and working in that way. So this goes to people particularly who are getting sponsorships and paid advertising and things like that, and allows them a pathway to become SAG members and get their SAG card. The SAG card has generally been a big deal within the acting community. You do enough work, you get your SAG card, and it's like you're official, you've made it. On YouTube, I feel like that's your first play button. Maybe it's your first sponsorship. I don't know. I don't know what the equivalent is on TikTok. Is it your first thing that goes viral with like tens of millions of views? TikTok's weird. It feels like monopoly money on TikTok. Like the views don't correlate for me. So this agreement comes after 3.5 years of research and discussion within SAG-AFTRA. Influencers have been coming to the union for guidance as they negotiated deals with companies. This new agreement allows influencers to have union protection, allows people who want to transition from a full-time day job to full-time influencer work to have access to healthcare and other union benefits. The union said it will provide more details on parameters of the agreement at a future date, and then I will break it down. SAG has also announced that it will not increase union initiation fees in 2021. Normally, the union increases 2% fees every year, and it will be suspended this year due to the pandemic. So, very interesting as influencers become the social media attention currency and are starting to not replace, but be on par with your traditional celebrities or people doing work in the traditional media space, advertising, actors who are doing things like that. This snow light right now is just, it's killing me. It's so bright. Anyway, that is SAG. We've covered 3 topics. It's 45 minutes in, and we are going to get to questions on any of those topics. If there are questions on other topics, let me know. I will do my best to answer them. Christy Koala, thank you for the $50 super chat. I appreciate it. I have put my notifications back on, and we're going to get to questions. The reason I looked at, because I'm seeing comments about the buying play buttons. The reason I looked is because somebody was doing coverage of this and said you could buy a play button. And I don't remember who was talking about it. It might've been Nick Ricada. Somebody was talking about it saying, you can just go buy a play button. And I was like, can you really? And so I looked on Etsy, and sure enough, they have some play buttons. I've heard that eBay does too, but Etsy's are like, most of the ones I saw on Etsy were like posters. By the way, me showing Etsy is not me sponsoring any particular thing or even saying that it's okay to knock off play buttons that are surely the intellectual property of the YouTubes. I was just curious that there's like a 1,000 subscriber one if you want to gift yourself. They have influencer awards for Instagram. Does Instagram even give those things out? Like, I've never seen anything. Like, does Instagram have a play button equivalent? This shop seems to want to think that they do. And this is like a silver play button, but I think it's a poster. I think this is clearly meant to look like a silver play button, but it's not a silver play button. Isn't that so interesting? They have a gold one. Like, what? Why? And then these, does Instagram do these? Do they have a 100,000? Do they have a 1 million? Like, are these just fake? Does Instagram do that? Also, I'm not going to talk about reproducing Instagram's logo and selling it for monetization. Like, we're not getting into that. I was just super curious about it. And I've seen you guys talking about eBay. I want to see if eBay has them too. But you would have to get like your name on it. It's so weird to me. Anyway, silver button. I'm curious. Oh, gold, silver, bronze, replica play button, fake play button wall plaque. Let's see. This doesn't have any images. I wonder if YouTube will ever start taking these things down or like fighting to take them down, because technically they are, knockoff goods. Because I imagine that those, well, A, the logo, and B, the YouTube, but I imagine that those are all proprietary intellectual property, but you can sure go buy them. That's so interesting to me that you can just go ahead and get fake play buttons. So weird. Why? I mean, these are cool. Those are play button paperweights. I'm okay with that because one, that's not the specific and exact dimensions of the YouTube play button, and B, it's kind of cheeky and a fun gift. I'm cool with that one. I'm not cool with the fake creator awards. That doesn't sit with me. Anyway, I'm interested. I was interested. But anyway, what do you guys think of Keem taking the play button? He was like, "No, fuck it. We're taking the play button. I'm taking it." So taking the play button. So interesting. I wonder if SAG will extend to family vloggers, especially children. I mean, it should, because SAG already has a branch for YouTubers who are doing advertisements. Family vloggers do advertisements all the time. It should. And then you would get those same protections, but somebody would have to choose to opt in. I want to read what the agreement is. It'll be interesting to me if it changes the rates that people will get or if it just sets a baseline rate. I will be very interested to see how it goes. Very, very interested. Uncovering hypocrisy. Hello. I hate that they're called influencers. Who and what are they influencing? According to a lot, I see all they're doing is partying, breaking rules, assaulting people, and being jackasses. I completely understand that. I don't like the phrase influencers either. I don't know what word to use other than that, but I don't know. Gigi Dodson, did they take Trump's SAG card? Yes, they did take away Trump's SAG card. And do you know what his response was? Trump's response was, "You don't do anything for me anyway. I didn't even want it." That was the response. Does that give them access to health insurance? Yes, it does, which I think is a very good thing. So I like that it gives people access. Yes, you have to pay the union dues, but if you're SAG, you can't take non-union work. Nikki B, this is a very, very good point, and it will definitely change. It will change that, but it also might change some of the undercutting in the influencer sphere. And but then there will always be people who are non-union taking union work. It seems like certain influencer communities don't want to talk shop for fear of shady people stealing their deals. It's true. The smarter ones at least work with influencer management companies. Brennan Lee, it's true. Some of the influencer management companies are good, but then there's also things like some of the multi-channel networks that I don't think give particularly YouTubers as much insight as to like what the norms are and what the industry standards are. So it'll be interesting. Oh my God, it just clicked. You are the lawyer Peter has talked about on his channel during a few things that happened in the beauty community last year sometime. Could be wrong, but maybe. There are two of us. Generally, when Peter chats about me, he uses my name, but there is another lawyer that he works with who has stayed anonymous, who I've actually also had conversations with. So no, before I started covering these cases on YouTube, there is another lawyer that Peter also works with, but that was not me. But when Peter and I chat, he generally shouts it out by name. He's been very kind and supportive to the channel, as have so many creators. I find the creator community very, very supportive for the most part. I mean, of course, there are always outliers, but I really enjoy being a YouTube creator. I love talking about YouTube. I love talking to other YouTubers about YouTube. I love talking about the behind the scenes. But yes, it's just interesting because people get weird talking about money, and then it's like, am I asking, like, if a bunch of creators had the same sponsor and they were like, well, how much are you getting? How much are you getting? Yes, that can vary by views and stuff, but similarly situated channels can get widely different sponsorship opportunities. And it's very interesting to me that nobody talks about that. Kibby said, thank you so much for covering this. So many people are trying to expand with these areas and we're not safeguarding themselves. Nikki tutorial. Let's just hope this rolls out without conflict. I mean, with regard to SAG, you get to opt in, so there shouldn't be conflict. Other advertisers are used to dealing with actors. I think the influencer space is kind of a win-win because the talent or the influencer or whoever gets the benefit of not having somebody in the middle, right? There's nobody in the middle taking a percentage of what they're getting. They're negotiating the deals for themselves. But also they don't have legal necessarily supporting them, telling them what the deals say. And they don't have that person going, that's too low. Or no, you should be asking for this. Or no, you should be asking for this and this. Or no, that covers, they own this part of intellectual property. You don't want to do that. So I'm hoping this brings some parity and some baselines into the influencer sphere as well, especially when it comes to kids. A question: do you know how much SAG union dues would be for an influencer in contrast to actors, or is it a flat fee for everyone? You know what? I have Team Baker came through. We were talking about this yesterday, so I have a note about it, and I'm going to just pull it up because NJ sent it to me. The national flat fee initiation rate is $3,000, but it could be lower in particular states. The annual base dues are $222.96. They missed an opportunity to do 222.22, but that's just me liking numbers that work together. In addition to work dues calculated at 1.5% of covered earnings up to $500,000. So it's the work dues that vary based on how much you work. And then, yeah, there is an application where people can apply, but we don't know exactly what the full agreement looks like yet, so it could be different. I'm going to keep going and looking for questions. So I think SAG stepping in is a great start. Hopefully they will expand to dealing with platforms. Jennifer, I hope so too. I hope so too, because that's what a lot of people, yes, it's great to have advertising, but what a lot of creators need is a liaison between the platforms. So I absolutely agree. Thank you, Diva and Mila and all of the mods for framing the question with a question. I appreciate it because it makes it easier for me to see. Marissa said, not fond of the idea of having these social media peeps in the same category as well-renowned actors like Brando, Pacino, and Streep. I mean, I don't know if being part of SAG puts them in the same category because SAG's full of actors that you've never heard of that do voiceover commercial work, that do background work, that do extra work, that do simply commercial work. So SAG is a fairly large union that covers quite a lot of different kind of actors. So I don't know if being in the same union puts them in the same category for things, but social media has award shows now. Like you've basically got your own, and is starting to get into the mainstream as well. You've got your own shows and your own awards being presented. I feel like the influencer is kind of taking over the celebrity right now. And that's particularly true during COVID, where most traditional celebrities aren't kind of working. And the influencers are like, I'm here 3 times a week. I'm here 3 times a week. Let's go. Not calling myself an influencer at all, but yes. Anyway, let's keep going with questions. Kibby, could we see backlash from bigger entertainers? I don't know if influencers being in the union would hurt bigger entertainers, or if it would bring some advertising parity so that you've got influencers receiving or requesting the same advertising rates, which actually might be a good thing for bigger actors because they're not getting undercut by like David Dobrik or something. What I was surprised is that we didn't see, and Mr. Beast was talking about this, we didn't see a lot of YouTubers in like Super Bowl commercials. I think we're like a year away from seeing people using YouTubers and other influencers in things like mainstream ad campaigns. I feel like we're on the cusp of that. I feel like actors who have been hustling to get their union cards will be angry to see that they have been beat out by YouTubers. Sheree, it's a very fair point because during the pandemic, it is harder to book a commercial, to book work. It is much more challenging when stuff's not filming. But also, if people are filming commercials on their channels, it's kind of same. So I don't know. You know what? I'm going to reach out and ask. I know a few working actors, and I will reach out and ask. I'm going to make a note. Mods, note it for the record. Note it for the record. I'm going to reach out and ask if they have thoughts, and then I will report back on Friday because I am very curious to see. I have friends who are voice actors, mainstream actors, and so I will reach out and ask the people, because the people I know are the working actors. So would I be excited to get into SAG? I don't necessarily think of myself as an influencer. I want to look at the agreement first and then tell you what I think. But I will say I'm self-employed. I'm interesting to see how that works with health insurance, whether it's a better deal for health insurance. I'm very, very very, very curious to see. So, any new filings from Salts? No, not regarding the sanctions filing, unless it's literally been filed in the time that I've been talking. And I don't think we'll see it. I think he has 21 days to respond to the original one. So I expect, like, strategically, if I were Salts, what would I do? I would wait until the very last day and then I would respond. I would take my time to respond to every single line of it. That's what I would do. So that's what I would do. What's the difference between with prejudice and without prejudice? Teresa, that is a fantastic question because I did go over it very quickly. With prejudice means no more for you. No soup for you. You cannot do it again. With prejudice means you cannot. Without prejudice means, hey, something happened. We're dismissing this, but you can try again. With prejudice means, no, friend, you done. You done. And we talked about this in the Ringo case too, is whether the trademark filing for the Ringo was with prejudice, so they can't refile the trademark for the Ringo, not the that's my drummer. That was my, and it's because my camera's on my desk. It's shaking my camera too. Fantastic. But that kind of Ringo. So with prejudice means you don't get another crack at it. Without prejudice means you can come on back. It's not that deep. Hopefully that explains. Question, does this mean SAG will hold a standard for influencers? I think so, because some of them shouldn't be influencing anyone. But I don't know if it's a standard of like quality or if it's a standard of rates. So I will be very, very interested to see. Question, do you think Brown wants to eat the cake and have it too? This is a fantastic question. And Birgitta, I hope I pronounced it properly. This is a fantastic question. There are a lot of times in Brown's motions where he argues out of both sides of his mouth and says things like, and this again are things that I don't always catch on first impressions because there's so much, but in the motion to dismiss, he describes the Without a Crystal Ball channel as a small social media channel, but then describes my less subscriber channel as less total views still, for now, than Without a Crystal Ball's channel as being a huge social media audience. So, okay, either where is it? Then where is it? Is a channel with 135,000 subs small, or is a channel with 85,000 subs huge? Where is it? Where is it? And is that based on total views? Like, okay. So there's a lot of those little moments where there's arguing out of both sides of the mouth. Like, hey, we don't represent Lori Ann, but Salts shouldn't have talked to her because she was represented by us. You can't argue both. You can't have it both ways. So yes, in some regards, I do think that is happening. I just woke up from Kelly. What happened to Keem? Oh, it'll be time-stamped. Nothing happened to him. Things happened for him. Just joined live. Does SAG situation only apply to US-based influencers? Or, you know what, Renee, that's a very interesting question. I have not seen that mentioned in any of the media reporting. I don't know how SAG deals with if it's a US-based only union. I don't know if that's true for actors abroad either. So I don't know the answer to that. But I will look when we get that agreement. Hopefully it will be clear. Let me look for a few more questions. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to find out. Billy Ann, great question. In the KJ case, what would be the motive or two for trying to speed up Salty's response? Money? No. I honestly think what Brown said in the motion is what he meant. I think he said what he said, which was, I want the Lori Ann declaration yoinked because I think there's all these things. And I'm using a sanctions motion to try to get the Lori Ann declaration yoinked out of this case because it's detrimental. I believe it's detrimental. And based on how hard they're going after this, I think they believe it's detrimental to the jurisdiction argument. And he said in this last motion, if the court were not to shorten time, the court could rule on jurisdiction before they rule on this motion. So what Brown says in his motion is, if the court rules on jurisdiction in favor of Without a Crystal Ball, then the court can't rule on sanctions because they've lost jurisdiction. And we want the court to get a piece of Saltsy. But also, if the court doesn't hear this before, yes, the court can hear the sanction motion later, but then the court won't look really closely at that Lori-Ann declaration. And I think that's what they're hoping for. I think the goal and the purpose is to look really closely at that Lori-Ann declaration and maybe get it called into question in the mind of the judge or thrown out in the mind of the judge so that it doesn't go to the jurisdiction motion. What he said was, well, if you rule in favor of us on jurisdiction, then you can't rule in favor of us on the sanctions. And that would just be prejudicial to us. We want you to rule on the sanctions because we don't like this shit. So that is what it is. Question, do you think Saltsy is waiting to respond so he can include the findings regarding the hacking? He alluded to having an answer in the motion about the Zoom meeting with the judge. I mean, I think they're two different things. And here's why I think they're two different things. I think with regard to the hacking, Saltsy could still file something, just file it because it would be appropriate. It was alluded to on the phone conversation. With regard to the sanctions, if it were me, I would take all the time I had to respond to those because they're serious allegations. And I would want to go line by line through everything that Brown said, go line by line through what he said, Lori-Ann said. I would want to make a chart and be like, well, he said this, and then he did this, and then he said this, and then he did this. Because now we're in the chart territory. Like Saltsy started with the charts. They threw it out there with the charts of the videos of things that KJ had said. And then Brown was like, we got you a chart too. Here are the things we think Lori-Ann said. So I'd want to do the same thing. I'd be like, no, here's this, here's this. If we're doing the mom, he's touching me, but he said this and he said this, fuck it. We're going all the way there. And if this ever goes up on appeal, you want a very thorough record, especially with regard to sanctions. This is challenging someone to duel in the lawyer realm. And I'd be like, aha, I am taking my time to prepare. Question, is there any indication of when jurors? No, there isn't. None. Not one. Not at all. None. Question, just like the writer's strike, if SAG actors go on strike, will the influencers also need to go on strike? That's a very interesting question. I would think so if they're in the same class, unless the influencers are on their own class. And if their influencers are in a separate class for the actors, and if the actors go on strike, the influencers don't necessarily have to. But it would be a great bargaining position if the actors are like, we're not going to be in your commercials, and we aren't going to let the influencers be in your commercials either. Suck it. No TikTok ads for you, bitches. It would actually give the actors, I think, a more powerful bargaining position because it's not like, oh, well, all the eyeballs are on YouTube anyway. We'll just go there. But I still think there will be YouTubers not in the union because I don't know if it's as necessary for YouTubers as it will be for others. And Bedazzled, I've seen your questions. Can you DM me on one of the socials so I can take a look at it before I talk about it? Just go ahead and shoot me that information so I can take a look at it before I bring it up. Thank you. Question, as a monument to the gods of speculation, if Toddy wins against KJ, do you think Salty will waive lawyer fees in exchange for Without a Crystal Ball's 100K play button? I don't know if he will waive lawyers' fees. But it would be interesting to see. The reason I just fractured my own thought. The reason I brought up what Keem did is because it's a good juxtaposition of how a lawsuit plays out when someone's really confident in their position. And that is like, fuck it. We're not even passing go. We're going directly to the heart of it. We're solving this lawsuit. But it also shows that you can do very interesting things in resolving it. So when people ask me things like, and I get asked a lot, what if KJ doesn't have the money to pay if she loses? Well, there are creative ways to resolve cases. Could Tati say, okay, well, excuse me. Could Tati say, okay, well, you can't, if Tati wins, can Tati say, okay, well, you can't pay it. These are the other things I want? Yes. And that's part of why I brought this up. Could that be no social media, no whatever? Could be. Could that be give me your play button? Could be. Could that be take out an apology in Times Square? I don't know. Could be. That's going to be up to them to decide. But there is a long road before that point. Gigi Dodson said what I was just saying under Jonathan's question. Fantastic, Gigi. We're on the same wavelength. If Toddy wins, can she ask KJ to take down her channel? Yes, she could ask for that. They could also ask the court for that. Will that happen? We don't know. Not related to current lawsuits. We're talking about the authors of Dragon Lace are suing Dragons and Dungeons for. Oh, I had no idea. That sounds very. You have me at dragons. You know your girl loves a dragon lawsuit. I want to know all about it. So I will make a note. Hold on. I'm going to make a note. Look, pen. I told you guys I work with a notepad sitting next to me all the time. And I use this one so when I am done, I can just pull out the pages I have finished and then they do not clutter my mind or my space. Yes, I absolutely can. Dragon Lace versus D&D. I'm fascinated. So yes, I can. If Without a Crystal Ball wins the jurisdiction motions, does that mean she can delete anything she wants until Tati refiles in Minnesota? Jean, no, it doesn't, because she's still on notice that there's litigation. I would imagine if they win that, the judge would put something in there about that. And it would be like, you're still on notice of litigation. I would imagine the same day or the next day, she would get a letter saying, be advised of litigation that's coming in Minnesota. We will refile there. So yes, she's still on notice of pending litigation. It doesn't end the litigation. The litigation will just resume and start over in Minnesota. So still on notice about pending litigation, which means you're still under that obligation to not delete your shit. What hypothetical impact could a KJ loss have on the drama community at large? What I don't want to see at all, and I don't think anyone wants to see, is YouTubers suing YouTubers over all the YouTube things all the time. That's not something anyone wants to see. It's not, oh, you can't say anything about me. It's putting in some boundaries within the community of what can be said and what can't be said. There's a difference between being like, oh my God, did you see Trisha talking about David Dobrik? That guy seems like a dick. Oh, okay. Well, that's an opinion and whatever, but that's different than some of the alleged statements in this case. So I think looking at the differences between like a Keemstar lawsuit, and I will look at other YouTube lawsuits for sure. I just have not had time. But the difference between hey, I'm covering this thing, it's awful, and I'm going to give you all of my opinions about it, but I also have audio of backing it up. I also gave the person a chance to be interviewed and they admitted to it. So I'm standing by my statements. That's different than somebody took their mom off of oxygen and see these court documents say so, and they were motivated by money. That's a different situation. So it's just a different situation. I hope that it would put some boundaries in. What you don't want to see, and what we never want to see in a community, is people using lawsuits to silence other people. That's why there are slap and anti-slap lawsuits. You can't just use the threat of litigation to silence people. What's interesting to me is I've seen that happen in this case too, where it's like, if you don't stop talking, I'm going to sue you and I'm going to sue them. And if you go back when this lawsuit was filed, you'll see videos from, Nick Schneider on The Viewer's Voice and Dustin Daly and Angelica Oles. You'll see all these videos of people saying, oh, and KJ threatened to sue me. Creep Show, I believe too. KJ's threatening to cease and desist me. KJ's threatening to sue me if I talk about this. That's what you don't want to see. What you don't want to see is people running around going, if you say this, I'm going to sue you. But what you can see are things like a cease and desist saying, I don't think you should be saying that. Why are you saying that? And then there's a discussion of, should I be saying this? Should I not be saying this? Can I be saying this? Can I resolve it? Or like Keemstar going, fuck it. It's true. I'm going to call up my lawyers. We're going to have a conversation and I'm going to decide to roll with it. And here we are. So parameters. I hope there's a clearer understanding of parameters and understanding that no matter how much you don't like someone, and I've seen this surrounding KJ, she's a very polarizing figure on the interwebs, that there are channels that just talk shit and make fun of her, but they aren't defamatory, or at least the ones I haven't seen aren't defamatory. Are they harassing? That's a whole different situation. But people are allowed to give commentary. People are allowed to parody. Is it nice? No. Is some of it mean-spirited? Yes. Does that mean it's defamation? No. But it's interesting to me where those lines will be, and YouTube is going to have to be a part of that conversation too. So, can undercovering hypocrisy, can you go over Rule 11? It's another form of lawyer sanctions that more broadly applies to, like, you're not the lawyer who wrote the thing, but you signed the thing. So it's not super deep. It's just another kind of sanctions, truly. How will Salsa get paid if Toddy wins the lawsuit? Well, probably by Toddy, but if isn't it interesting that we now know that Without a Crystal Ball's attorney is charging $450 an hour, and how many hours he spent on just that one motion? When I say both sides are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on this lawsuit, they are. It's just curious to me where all those hundreds of thousands of dollars are coming from. I would love to know your thoughts on it. I have questions. Nicole, I have no idea. I'm not at that stage yet, but I imagine that you could. But I wonder do you think Romeo Lacoste will try to buy another one? I mean, could you ever display it? Could you even put it up? It's like, no, Keem got it. Oh, my questions just jumped. So if I missed anything, I am sorry. Wonder if there would be a category in the SAG Awards. I wonder too. Like, would there be an influencer of the year category? Different types of influencers? I feel like we're coming into a whole new world of entertainment, for sure. For sure. Generic name. Funny. The pincers, though, are terrifying to me. How long does jurisdiction usually take to determine? There's no usual in this case because there are so many ancillary issues, but jurisdiction can take a year sometimes. There are just so many ancillary things in this case. So, yep, I lost all of my comments above. I was going slow and then it jumped. So if I missed your question, I apologize. I got well behind on questions and I am going to go get them. Question, what's your favorite cursey word? Ginger, it depends on the situation, but I find fuck to be so well-purposed. I mean, it can mean all kinds of things. It's like dude. It can mean so many different things that I feel like it might be, but shit I use quite a lot because it encompasses a lot too. So one of those two, shit or fuck. Those would be my favorite. They can be used so well. Gorilla Girl Glue didn't sue. Well, she still has time to. The YouTube channel, who is another attorney, Wine and Chill, did a great video breakdown of it. I haven't done a creator shout out today. I try to do creator shout outs on Tuesdays, and there's two creators I've been really enjoying. So let me creator shout out real quick, and then I will get back into answering questions. And I'm going to link these below. Wine and Chill kind of has a variety channel, but she's also an attorney. She did great coverage on the Kanye West information, and she has a really good breakdown. Let me find it. She has a really good breakdown on the Gorilla Glue case and on what she thought if she were to sue. So I did not cover the hypothetical situation, but Wine and Chill did. I will include her link in the descriptions and tag her in the video, but she has kind of entertainment law and then lifestyle stuff, student loan stuff. She's very, very clever. She for sure deserves to have more subscribers than 7,000 because she's great. Her Kanye West coverage was so fantastic. But she has a great video on the Gorilla Glue hair lawsuit. And if there were a products liability suit filed, what would it look like? This has 18,000 views. It deserves way more. It's great. So I'm going to link her channel, but I really enjoy Wine and Chill. She is a very smart former entertainment lawyer, and it's like Lady LawTube. There is one other channel that I have been enjoying. Let me pull it up real quick because I've been watching not just drama content, but other content as well. I like channels like Personal Philosophy Project. I enjoy a variety of different channels. I realize that most of the creators I watch are women, except for like Adam McIntyre and Peter Mon, and like Nick and Dustin. Like the male channels I watch tend to be drama channels. And so I was expanding, and Creep Show just had a fantastic video on Shane Dawson's audiobook. And through that video, I found Another channel who talks about literature and books. I am falling deep into BookTube. I kind of do that every now and again. And I'm like, oh, I have only really followed BookTube commentary other than Peter that are female creators. So I started following this channel that Creepshow shouted out, Jack Edwards, and I don't need to tell you to go subscribe to him. He has tons and tons of subscribers, but I very much have been enjoying his breakdowns of books. It's really intelligent commentary. I was never a lit major. Like I always kind of wanted to be. Like I'm not I don't get that deep into other people's creative art. I just kind of take it at face value. And so I love a deeper reading, and I love the different types of books that he reads. I love that he breaks down like all of the books Harry Styles has recommended, YouTuber books, British YouTuber books, the Bridgerton. I can't wait to watch this one. I think he's just fantastic. So those are two creators I would love to give a creator shout out to. And the idea from creator shout out came from Creepshow, who does creator shout outs. I find that it's such a positive way to uplift and share, because I know a lot of you guys watch the same drama channels that I watch. We talk about the same creators, the other lawyers here on YouTube. We enjoy that. But when I find different creators, I'm like, ooh, they have tons of subscribers, like Twins, the new trend. They have tons of subscribers. You've probably heard of them, but if you didn't, I'm very much enjoying them right now. So that I wanted to share those two. So if you're curious about a products liability Gorilla Glue lawsuit, one has not been filed. Wine and Chill does a great breakdown. I agree with literally. I'm like, yep. 10/10, agree, would recommend. So she's done a great video on it. So go watch her video. Please go watch her video on it and support her channel as well. Let's get into some others. How long do you think the Toddy case will take? The Toddy case right now is going to take years. It's going to take years. If it keeps going at this pace, it's going to take years. Oh, is it Dragonlance? I mean, it might be. It could have been a typo. It could have been Dragonlance, not Dragonlace. It's fine. So we'll see. Jessica says, I think Toddy would ask for KJ's channel. That's where the defamation happened. I mean, I think that would at this point, I think it would have to be you can't be on YouTube. Not just I want your channel. Like I don't want your channel. It's that you are deplatformed. I can't imagine that wouldn't be a part of this, but we'll see. I did not hear that. And yes, we can. I saw on Instagram, Cheryl said she wasn't feeling well, but I have not been around much this weekend. I was with family. So when I'm not on social much, I pop onto social and I'm like, hey, I'm here. Good to see you. I interact a bit and then I pop back off. And just go do things. I barely have any pictures from this weekend because we were just like doing shit. And sometimes that's the best. But yes, sending thoughts to Cheryl and her son, that's got to be scary. And we're still in it. I was very mixed about traveling, and we were like, okay, we're going to follow precautions. We're staying in the same state. We're driving, and that's what we're going to do. So, yes, Brendan Lee, this could absolutely happen so these are a lot of ifs. This is a lot of far and away extrapolation. If Toddy wins, if she wins awards, yes, she can choose to settle for those amount of money, or she could chase the money, or they could ask the court to order it. So it's different. If the court orders it, then that's one thing, because part of what they're asking for in their prayer for relief is, we want you to order these things. If it goes to jury trial, they can ask a jury to order some of those things too. So yes. Let me get to a few more questions. Oh, and we've been talking for like an hour and 20 minutes. Can Tati ask for the KJ channel even if KJ claims it's their only income? Would it be granted by a court? I don't know. Could it be asked for? Anything can be asked for. If they win a monetary award, could it be asked for in lieu of a monetary award? Yep. Do I think that's something KJ would want to do? Nope. Question, could the judge dismiss fully so that Salts cannot refile anywhere? Not on this type of a motion, because this motion for jurisdiction did not ask for everything to be dismissed. So it's not asking for the defamation charges to be dismissed. So no, they can't dismiss it so that it can't be refiled anywhere. If they dismiss it, it'll be refiled, I imagine, this is lawyer speculation based on how deep into it they are. If this gets dismissed on jurisdiction, I imagine it'll just be like, all right, crack on. We'll go to Minnesota. Fine. We'll all appear by Zoom anyway. It's why the jurisdiction stuff seems so ridiculous to me, because when you look at the Keem suit in particular, what you look at is they could have fought jurisdiction. There's other things they could have fought on. And they're like, fuck this. Let's get to the heart of the thing and be done. In a time where everything in this case is essentially digital. So it's not as if we're doing corporations versus corporation where there are witnesses in one state that are going to have to fly to another state. There are thousands of boxes of information. That's not the practical stuff that we're dealing with in jurisdiction. And from what I've looked at, the law in Washington is not particularly unfriendly to KJ's position, and the law in Minnesota is not particularly better. That would be the number one thing. Like, oh, the laws in Minnesota are better for me. You fight like hell. I don't think the laws in Minnesota are particularly better, and they actually allow for punitive damages for harassment and some other things more than Washington does. So the laws aren't better. So why fight on jurisdiction when for the foreseeable future, everything except maybe trial is going to be done by Zoom? And even now they're doing Zoom trials. Why fight it? Why spend so much money pre-litigation fighting this stuff? I don't understand the thought process behind it. And that's why this jurisdiction argument, I get it. Like, there are times when you're technically right and you still don't fight on it. I don't know if they're technically right on jurisdiction. We will see what a court does. From a litigation strategy standpoint, it's very interesting to me to fight like this over jurisdiction during a time when everything's being done on Zoom anyway. It's not as if people are flying back and forth to deal with these things. And when it comes to depositions, it's normally the lawyers flying back and forth. So I don't know. I don't know. So do you guys, I did a holiday ombre. These two were closer together on film because everything's blown out because of how bright the snow is outside. But anyway, I digress. Let me keep going. Try to get to some more questions. I'm very interested to go through the H3H3. I was interested at looking at the H3H3 merch stuff, but then they didn't sue with the merch. And it looks like Keemstar and H3H3 are not in a lawsuit together. I know they don't like each other, so we'll see. But yes, I will look at it because fair use is something that people don't always understand. Secondhand Wildflowers question. That sounds like a song lyric, and I love it. Does YouTube have to comply with and keep her on platform? They don't have to. Can they toss KJ for terms of service if they wanted to? Or would that go against, I don't know what the TJ order is. Could YouTube choose to deplatform somebody for terms? Yes. I'm sure that behind the scenes, there's already been a motion to preserve sent to YouTube. This is, again, what would I do if I were the lawyer in this case? I'm sure a motion to preserve has already been sent to YouTube, like, hey, now this lawsuit has been initiated, please preserve. Those things tend to take a few weeks to get processed, but please preserve things. So even if YouTube did take down channels, I mean, a friend, Eric Hunley's channel just got taken down with no explanation, and he's still working to try to get his channel back up. It's a channel I've been on once. He has other lawyers on, other people in law enforcement giving commentary. But YouTube can do that. YouTube can just take down channels, but I'm sure there's a motion to preserve in the background. So can KJ win this case from Giant Oreo? I haven't really given predictions on this case because I tend to just break this stuff down. I think there are counts where KJ could probably win. I think that the easiest counts for KJ to win are some of the defamation counts with regard to Tati. I think some of the difficult counts for KJ to win are going to be the defamation per se with regard to James Westbrook. So I think the problem with this case for KJ is there's so many different counts that she could win a lot of them. She could win more than 50% of them and still lose. And so that's where you see a case pled with lots of different things, because it sets out for a jury to go, yeah, we don't like that one, but yeah, we do like this one. So we'll see. Do you think KJ wants it thrown out because Sherelle can use that to sue her? Well, whether Sherelle, the lawsuit on the mass flagging is interesting. Mass flagging being reported to YouTube is different. What will YouTube do? I don't know, but I get it. I get it. I get it. Jamie says this lawsuit confuses the life out of me. The strategic decisions made are confusing to me as well. It just confuses me as well. I find it interesting when someone can barely make 10K views and they have a play button. Jay, I totally get it. I think channels rise and fall in popularity. I mean, we'll see. Question, does KJ need to travel to the West Coast if jurisdiction is there? I can't imagine when they're going to start doing in-person stuff again. Right now, it's all virtual. And most of the court hearings and stuff can be done by phone. Parties don't need to be present. The only time parties need to be present really is going to be deposition, unless the court orders a hearing with testimony. And that's all going to be done by Zoom for the foreseeable future. It's going to be trial, which could be years from now. So who knows? Who knows? You can buy followers, and also that's true. I have learned very much about purchased followers, purchased views, all in the course of working with my computer guy to talk about, or my computer dude to talk about some of the stuff that's been going on with threats and hacking and stuff like that. So it's very interesting what can be done. Will I cover any MLM cases? I have been meaning to do an update on the LuLaRoe lawsuits. I have 2 episodes of the podcast way back. They're like a year ago. Did I just spill coffee on myself? Totally. With regard to the LuLaRoe lawsuits. So yes, I don't avoid them. It's just trying to find a balance between what interests the audience. And I'm going to be putting up a poll for the members to vote on soon with regard to where we're going next. There are a few lawsuits that we're tracking so closely that we can't stop, won't stop. Like the Toddy suit, we're on this train until it either crashes into a ravine and catches on fire, or until this case resolves. Like, we're here. Same with the Erica Girardi, Tom Girardi case. Like, I want to know all the things that happen, and I'm going to keep following it. Same with the Britney Spears conservatorship. I want to know. But some of those things have more time in between. I was hoping that was going to happen in the Toddy case, that it's like, here's a filing a month later, here's another filing 3 months later, here's something else. But no, it's not going that way. Do you think Salty could be waiting to respond to the motion because he wants to see if the judge is going to smack Mr. Brown on the head for keeping up with the nonsense? I mean, he could. It definitely gives the judge more time. But I also think that for a working lawyer, there are other cases that have to be dealt with. There are other clients that have to be dealt with. And if you have 3 weeks, you take 3 weeks generally, because A, you are going to gather everything. And B, at this point, it's like, why would I respond early? If I were Salty, why would you respond early? It's like, no, I have this time. Wait, you can wait. That's what I would do. I've been using my new knowledge of anti-slaps lawsuits to other YouTubers in the anti-MLM community. That I don't know who this person is we're threatening to sue because they were talking about her. Once again, you cannot threaten litigation just to silence somebody. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And educating creators is, like, I love to educate and entertain you guys. I love having this conversation, but I love having these conversations for creators to understand the boundaries too, so they can stand up for themselves. I like seeing a creator like Keem stand up and say, no, there aren't grounds for your cease and desist. And that's not, to me, that's not at odds with me looking at a creator like KJ going, you received 4 cease and desist and somebody still told you that this was cool, because some of those statements were problematic. I don't know why this wasn't just resolved at those 4 cease and desist stage. I think KJ sees herself like Keem, like, no, I'm putting down my foot and I am going to die on this hill because I think that I'm in the right to say what I say. Generally for creators, I'm like, you do you. But sometimes I'm like, but the money, you have to consider a litigation strategy, and you have to consider cost of litigation in that strategy. Sometimes in lawsuits, people take the L even when they feel like they are morally correct, just because it's like, you know what? If what you want is me to take down a few of these videos and to say, hey, I'm taking down a few of these videos, how much money is that worth to somebody? And if that's worth $500,000, go for it. Roll the dice, do your lawsuit. If it's not, then sometimes for creators, it's like, I don't want to fuck with this. I'm just taking it down. So we'll see. Will the KJ case have other not toddy videos brought into evidence to show a pattern of behavior? It just depends on what comes up in the depositions. That's so far down the road. It could, but it depends because there are harassment suits there. So we'll see. We will see. Let me get a few more questions, and then I am starting to get my voice is starting to get tired, and I want to go play in the snow. Would YouTubers, Instagamers, Instagrammers, TikTokers getting SAG cards mean that they would have to disclose? They have to do that anyway. They have to disclose that things are sponsored. That's an FTC rule. So even if they are members of SAG, they still have to adhere to the FTC. Could there be more consequences to not adhering to the FTC rules? Yes. I think SAG could definitely require that to be better. Not all influencers do this well. You have to disclose. And YouTube makes it pretty easy because you like click the button on the back end of your video and are like, this video contains a sponsorship. And it's like, here you go. That's fine. It's different than like me saying, hey, my own merch is available. Different than if I have like a Nord's or a Adam and Eve sponsorship, where then it should say on the bottom of the video, because I click the button, this is sponsored content. And then I always say, this video is brought to you by, this is sponsored by. But yes, it always has to be in there. All right, my comments jumped again. Let me try to get to a few things, and then we're going to wrap up. We don't have Court of Public Opinion today because I wasn't live on Friday. So Court of Public Opinion will be back next week. Yay. Let's see. I don't know who Steve Anderson is, but if a person is completely blocked by YouTube, they are not allowed under terms of use to have another channel. And that's the same on Instagram's terms of use. It's the same on Facebook. Like if you're banned, you can't just start another channel. You are banned. You as the individual, not like the one channel. It's not like, oh, this channel's banned and this one's not. It's you, the person, is banned. And then you cannot have another channel. Bree Patrick, this is a fantastic question, but there is precedent. A lot of the precedent is old. Some of the good reasons to fight jurisdiction in a YouTube case, not talking about this YouTube case, but in a YouTube case in general, is that the broadcasting becomes a thing. Like how much broadcasting is enough? How much broadcasting to another state is enough? If I'm sitting in Tennessee talking generally about things, can I be sued in other states? Generally, the answer is going to be no. But then if you direct it at a certain state, if you have enough contacts with a certain state, how much is enough to bring people into other states to sue them? And that's something that in the digital age, the courts are still struggling with because the case law on it is older, and it's regarding newspapers and newspaper distribution and sometimes radio and print ads. It's not necessarily regarding digital distribution on a platform like YouTube. So it'll be very interesting. KF, maybe KJ thinks if this gets dismissed, all the evidence that happens since it gets filed, the case going forward. No. I mean, I don't know what KJ thinks, but yeah. So I don't know. That's good to know, Katya. I will definitely take a look today. I haven't been on social today. How many want to bet that Gorilla Glue has already changed their warning labels? Jakes, I guess we'll see. I don't know if they need to, but we'll see. Can a without prejudice hang over one's head forever? Are there statutes of limitations on these types of cases? Lisa, depending on the type of case, there are statutes of limitations, and you still have to be within those statutes. Even if something gets dismissed without prejudice, like you can try again. You can play again. You can put another quarter in the machine and play it again. But there is still a statute of limitations that has to be adhered to. Generally, it's 3 years from the time the thing was done. Sometimes from the time the thing was discovered. Now, see, statute of limitations has a lot. I'm like, but this. Generally, from the time the thing was done or discovered, you have 3 years in a lot of cases. BE's questions, why didn't she just come out fighting saying, I only had 4,000 subs when this happened. All the haters on Reddit brought it to millions. At this point, is it the Reddit user responsible? That's a really interesting question because we will have to look at what the real distribution is. Because really, at the end of the day, for something like defamation, I don't know how much sub count matters. I think that distribution matters more than sub count because it's like, yes, you can have a sub count that's this, but then you can have videos that pop off. It's just going to go to damages. The reason subscribers have become important tangentially in the KJ case is with regard to jurisdiction, paying members in Washington, people talking about being in Washington. And that goes to KJ saying, I have no subscribers or viewers in Washington in that very first declaration. That's part of what made this such an issue. Yes, I know it is time to start wrapping it up. KJ, well, we will see. We will see. We will see. It's going to be a long fight for sure. Why do you think Brown is going only after Salty and the Lorianne declaration and not going after Lorianne? Also, possibly, well, it's a motion for sanctions. So you can't really go after Lorianne. She just said the stuff. If he was going to go after Lorianne, it would have to be on some kind of a perjury thing. But going after sanctions for Salty is interesting to me because there's other attorneys working on this and he's only going after one of them. But if the other attorneys wrote it, it's like, well, you did this. It's like, well, no, I didn't. I signed it. I didn't write it, which is not uncommon in a law firm. So I think I really gut thoughts on the whole motion for sanctions. Sanctions are very hard to prove. Sanctions are hard to get. Sanctions would generally get put over, I would think, by the court until down the road. I really think it's a way to slap at Salty in the public forum. I don't think Brown accuses Salty of playing to the social media audience. Brown does it too. They both do it. They both know that things are going to be read and discussed. I think it's why Brown put in all that information about Lorianne to attempt to discredit her. My opinion. I wonder if some of that was the information under seal. Again, my pondering. But I derailed my own train of thought. But I think that the motion for sanctions is probably a stinker to start with and not going to win, but it's a way to, yes, attempt to discredit Salty, but also to get the court to look more closely at the Lorianne declaration and to try to get the court to say, I'm not with this declaration. I'm not going to look at it with regards to the motion for jurisdiction. I really think that's more what it has to do. He put all of those same arguments into that 300-page precipice, and the court seemed to me to be kind of clear that she maybe hadn't read all of that shit and that some of it's so far over page limits, she might not read it. So I think this is another crack at trying to get that Lorianne declaration out of there because the Lorianne declaration's damaging to the argument for jurisdiction. And they're saying, right, but it's not true. So does the award for lawyers' fees if you lose get prorated based on the number of counts you win or lose? Melinda, generally the award for attorney's fees is based on what is spent and the court will determine the award for attorney's fees. So the court goes through and determines. So can the court prorate it? Yes. Does that always happen? No. Could that happen? Yes. Yes, mass flagging is a violation of YouTube terms of service. If KJ were to win, who would be responsible for paying her legal and court fees? Will she be out any money? I'm so curious. It depends on how she wins and what she wins. What we saw in the Keem suit is Keem won and he was allowed to bring a motion for attorney's fees. So if all of the actions are won by KJ, could she bring a motion for attorney's fees? Yes. If she wins that, then it would be the Westbrooks and Halo Beauty that would have to pay for the attorney fees. But again, just like with the court determining if the Westbrooks win what attorney's fees will be paid, it would be the same. The court will determine what attorney's fees would be paid. So yes, she absolutely can. Do I foresee a trial or a settlement? At this point, I don't know how these parties settle at this point. Like the lawyers are so locked horns. I don't know how the attorneys settle at this point. I don't know how they settle at this point. I don't. I don't know how you even sit down to have a settlement agreement when the attorneys have gone after each other so hard. I just don't know. I also don't get the vibe that either of these parties are inclined. If they were inclined towards settlement, they should have done it during the 4 cease and desist 18-month period of time. So I don't think either side is willing to acquiesce at this point because it would have to be an acquiescence. I think that this is probably destined for trial. So I think it's probably destined for trial. Do you think KJ is doing all this filing to run up lawyers' fees, anticipating Toddy will lose and have to pay them? I don't know. That's a big gamble. That's a big gamble I wouldn't want to take on a strategy. So I don't know. I'm going to get to 2 more questions and then we are going to get it going. I thought the Brown filing mentions with prejudice. Is it possible he's trying to sneak that in since he didn't in the other filings? Oh, it's not sneaky. When he talked about it in this last sanction motion, when he talked about it in this last motion, he talked about the jurisdiction being dismissed with prejudice, meaning you can't refile in Washington. It would have to be refiled elsewhere. So no, not sneaky at all. Let me get to 2 more. You guys have lots and lots of KJ questions. I get it. I know. Sam, I just don't see it happening in the middle of all of these in all of these lawsuits. I just don't see it. But maybe. Welcome to the channel, Mother of Cats. I need to update the LuLaRoe suit for sure. I've been wanting to do that for a while. How are you doing? I am doing good, Southern Hot Mess. Thank you. I'm going to go play in the snow in a minute. I am doing good. Thank you for asking. And did you guys, I did a sale. There was new merch. Did I talk about the new merch today? There's new merch. I'm going to show it to you in just a second, and then we're going to bounce out. Question, I don't know if this has been asked, but would you cover the Amanda Bynes conservatorship? I don't know a ton about it, but I would have to go and track down which court it's in to do it. But it'd be interesting to juxtapose it to the Britney one, wouldn't it? I am talking about Britney tomorrow. Would you consider going through the fan fiction lawsuit cease and desist? It would be hard to pull back, but yes, if we ever have time, I'm always interested in going back and looking at stuff. So this, I just want to show you real quick. I want to show you real quick at lawnerdshop.com. Lawnerdshop.com. Wait, hold on. Let me pull it up. See, when I don't plan things and then try to do them. When I don't plan things and then try to do them. Debbie, I will. I'm going to put this up on the channel and ask for a vote. I absolutely will. Did you watch Framing Britney? Have you looked into Lou Taylor? I talked about Lou Taylor in the video that I did breaking down the updated documents when they were fighting over the money being paid to Lou Taylor. And tomorrow's episode of the Emily Show is more of my thoughts on Framing Britney Spears. So tomorrow's episode is going to have part of my live stream clipped down about Framing Britney Spears and then the kind of fallout from Framing Britney Spears for sure. So let me pull up this. I wanted to show you guys the new stuff that I enjoy. Okay, this one is limited edition for February. So if you like this guy, this is limited edition for February. So this will be gone at the end of the month. So I wanted to share that with you. The Lawnerd logo is not going anywhere. There will be some other variations of it coming. The crew neck sweatshirts are in expanded sizes. The crew neck shirts are in expanded sizes. The V-necks are back in store. I love this. I love this so much, but I also know that having the cursey words on clothes are not for everybody, which is why we brought the Lawnerd logo here with this for Valentine's Day so that you guys can show your Lawnerd love. We also have a hat. I love hats so much. I've got samples coming of camo hats and I'm so excited. So I hope they turn out really cute so we can have some camo hats too, because I live for camo. And then this is a new variation of a design. Nope, this is the crew neck. This is the crew neck version with the expanded sizes. And then I made this one in a crew neck and a hoodie for my kid, truly, because he asked. And a number of you asked as well for a Facts Not Foolishness so that you can show your Lawnerd love without necessarily wearing the word fuck on your clothes, which I totally get. So those are some of our updated merch items if you guys are interested. Most of the merch stays around. If it's going to go, I will always tell you. So this is the one that's limited edition right now. If you want it, get it in February, and then it is going back into the vault just like a Disney movie, which I guess they're now on Disney Plus anyway, but back into the vault. So I just wanted to share that with you. I am really excited about the new merch. I love it. I love it. I love the hoodies are very thick. I do not have one of the crew necks yet. I can't wait to get it. So I can't wait. I can't wait. Camo hats. How can we see them? They're invisible. Yes, I cannot wait to bring you guys more stuff. So yes, I have considered covering international cases for sure. It's just right now we are managing time and time to talk about things in depth versus quickly. It's why I've shifted the coffee and cursey words and then even some of the Friday night streams to cover a few quick topics and then to try to deep dive on the podcast episodes or occasionally do one topic on a live so that we really get into those deep dives. I will be back tomorrow to have a live stream of the podcast episode, the Emily Show episode, getting a deeper dive into the Britney Spears Framing Britney Spears documentary. My thoughts on that, can't wait. And then on Friday, I will be back with another live stream with some more topics for sure. Yes, we do ship internationally. Yes, our distributor ships from locations internationally. So sometimes I'm finding those in Europe are getting stuff faster because there's a distribution center there. So there's no imports. Canada has been tougher. So if you guys don't see anything, if you order something and don't see it within a few weeks, please just email us at help@EmilyDBaker and we will find it and fix it for you. Thank you. I do have V-necks in there. So yes, this is one of my V-necks. This is one of my V-necks. And then there will be tank tops for the summer. So we will have a summer line as my voice is done. And my voice has signed off without me. So I am going to wrap up. But yes, we will have new stuff coming out somewhat seasonally. We are starting to work on what we are launching for Pride. I'm very excited, because it's February and I've started now. I'm like, ooh, I can't wait. So yes, there is more coming. Yes, there will be more coming. I will keep you guys in the loop. The way to know about those things the most quickly is to follow me on socials because I always share it there, and then to join the text crew. Those are the easiest ways to know the things. If you're not part of the text crew and you're in North America, textemily.com. If you do it from your phone, it'll get you right into the text crew and it'll save me as a contact and I will be able to come in and say hi to you and wish you a happy birthday and do all the things. Yes, it's me texting on the text crew, which is why sometimes there's typos and links that don't work. Whenever you see things that are kind of slightly fucked up, it's because I'm doing it myself. And that is the truth. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate you. It's been a wonderful Tuesday. I will see you on the socials and I will see you back here tomorrow for a premiere at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just textemily.com. If you want to join the channel, lawnerdsunite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube